right, I'm trying something out here. I think in my messages before that I want to try and do a leadership session. Okay, let me just yeah, leadership session weekly. Even for myself, I find Grok very intelligent. I think like what Elon has said, more than 10, I think around less than 10 years, right? AI would definitely be smarter than humans, but I actually think it's a lot smarter than humans already. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just this is testing out. As you can see, it's alpha. I am doing a session with Grok on different leadership things, leadership sessions or the parts of leadership. And then you can see here why I'm screening the mirroring the iPhone is because there's no chat function on the PC or on the Mac. So what I basically did here is going through a whole session. I asked it to be like a seasoned CEO leader, CEO of a former CEO of a unicorn startup, and then what he learned at leadership, and then there are different topics. And the very first topic that he said we should talk about is human-centered leadership. This is very interesting. So Grok is now my co-host. How it's going to work here is I am just going through and talking to Grok. I made it in a way where I will actually answer questions. It will ask me questions, and you can see it through this screen here, and I'll be talking into it. Right, I'll be talking into it. So I was just rehearsing, and I was thinking, you know what? Let's just make a start. Okay, so the very first topic that I started here was we're going to first dive into the human-centered leadership. Let me try if I can make this bigger. Okay, as this is alpha test, but I don't mind everyone having a look. I think I might just remove the column, make this bigger. I think that's as big as I can do it. I'll just go and stretch it all the way. Go and stretch it all the way. Yeah, just do it like that. Okay, I think you guys can see it. Yeah. So yeah, so it's let's have a start. So hey, welcome to our first leadership session chat. Today we're tackling human-centered leadership. Here's a stat that grabbed me. Hybrid leaders who prioritize connections are 2.5 times more likely to build trust and engagement. Pretty wild, right? It's all about putting people first in a world that obsessed with tech and results. So what's your gut feel on the idea? Does human-centered leadership feel natural to you, or is it a buzzword that's tough to pin down? So this point is actually interesting to me. If you remember the past decade or so, we went from working in an office to the companies like even Yahoo, if the ones that you guys, if you remember who they are, Google, that's said results driven. Okay, so it became results driven, but in a workplace, and then maybe COVID happened, and then everyone worked from home. Results may not be, it's not just what we want. If you have a sort of a remote arrangement, then you need to start centering around humans, right? So because they're working from home, they have results. I think in my previous videos, I've also said that if you want to be a good leader, even if the person is working in a remote environment, it's important that they feel that they're part of a team. So it's important that they actually do feel that inside a video, it's not just a video call, that even though they're in a separate location, that they are still part of a team. So this is interesting stat here. Okay, so I'll just scroll down. So what I answered just on this first one, it was after answering this that I started to think, you know what, let's have a try. Let's have a try on this alpha test. Let's have a try. So with here, I said that, so human-centered leadership means it's important to put the person first you're talking to at the forefront rather than the project. At the forefront because we believe that if you enable the humans, you'll be able to complete the tasks or projects more clearly, more efficiently. Is that correct? And then it said, yes, exactly. I nailed a very big piece on it. Human-centered leadership does mean putting the person first, not just a warm and fuzzy idea, but because it's smart, it's a smart strategy. If you empower people to give them trust and support, they're more likely to crush it on the task. Like you said, I've added this, I've added that. It's also about seeing them beyond their role, understanding the motivations, struggles, and even their quirks. For example, when I was running my unicorn startup, Grok, as I gave that as a persona, I had a dev who was quiet but brilliant. Once I took time to ask about his goals, not just his code, he opened up and led a game-changing project. So, exactly. So, it's not really about what they do now. It's about their motivations. It's about them, why they are doing this. Getting to know them personally would actually help a lot, right? So now it's flipping it to me. Have you ever seen this play out where focusing on the human side unlock better results, or maybe a time where ignoring it backfired? What's your take? What's your take from your own experience? So this is how I work too. When I'm in a project, I would definitely try to know the person, know their motives, why they're here, and so on. And if I don't know them, it actually backfired because they are just working on the particular role, and a lot of them will just try to. They won't push hard. They'll very easily maneuver towards the what's the term called? A quiet quitting mode, right? So I actually see it backfire. So okay, so let me answer Grok this way now. I'm actually doing this real time. So you're right. I've seen this play out. Working with teammates and understanding their motives is super important because we want to know that why are they motivated to be working in this company, and then getting to know them, right? So when times are tough, when you actually know them, then you can actually portray the empathy that is needed in a leader. But when you don't put them in and you treat them just as a worker, they will very easily maneuver into the quiet quitting mode. So that's how I see how this plays out. Oops, got it wrong. How this plays out. But that's still fine. This is very interesting. I love that you brought up motives. It's so key. Knowing the why behind someone's work can turn a good teammate into a great one. And you're spot on about empathy being the glue when things get rough. I've seen that too. When you've built the connections, you can lean into its tough times, and they'll stick with you But when you miss it, like you said, treating them just as a worker, it's a fast track to quiet quitting. I've had teams where if I didn't check in on them personally, they'd coast. One time I pushed the project hard without asking how folks were holding up, and half the team mentally checked out, and productivity tanked. So what do you think makes it hard to keep the human focus, especially when deadlines are looming? Any tricks you found to stay tuned in when the pressure is on? So to me, basically, when things get rough, it's even more important that you get to know them with empathy, get to know the human, all right, your teammate, because they're working so hard. We can't get them to burn out. We need to find out what's going on so that we can, when pressure is on, we work together. One of the videos I said that there was one particular task that suddenly popped up in a company I was with, and even though I wasn't the domain expertise for that particular task, well, I could be if I sat down and do it, but anyway, it was him. I was with him and bouncing ideas back throughout the night. He actually helped out, right? So it's even more important during times when deadlines are looming. Basically, being with them, showing them moral support actually helps a lot. Okay, so let me answer this. So for me, in times of pressure, it's even more important to put the human at the forefront because they're working so hard. We want to make sure that they do not burn out when times are getting tough, when the pressure is on. There was a time that I was actually staying with my teammate, even though he had the domain expertise. But by being with him uh, and giving him more support and bouncing ideas, it actually helped get the task completed much quicker than expected. All right, let's see. So you can see I'm not even using a deep search and think. Why I decided on this idea is because uh, I saw someone post about this medical thing that they had. They were asking the doctor. The doctor was surprised that the patient put information into Grok and was able to cure himself. The doctor came out to say it. Right, so I think Grok 3 is smart enough to even do this, become my co-host on talking about different things. So this is what I'm trying out. So for the guys that are coming in, just saying this again, I am alpha testing, having leadership sessions with Grok on a weekly basis. You know my Zeal show. Zeal shows on Mondays and Wednesdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I haven't put a time slot for this yet, but I want to try it out and see how this works out. So basically, it's just I'm treating Grok like my co-host now, discussing leadership, different leadership topics, and then myself learning from this as well. So today's main topic is on human-centered leadership. Okay, all right. So what he said was that's a killer insight. Doubling down on the human side when pressure's on is clutch. I love how you stayed with your teammate, not just delegating, but actually being there, bouncing ideas. It's like you're saying support isn't just a pat on the back, it's active partnership. That's huge. I found something similar works. When crunch time hits at my startup, I sit with the team, not above them. Sometimes just grabbing coffee and asking, what's the one thing slowing you down? It cuts, what he's asking is, what's one thing that's slowing you down? It cuts through the noise and kept burnout at bay. What's your go-to move when you see someone teetering on the burnout edge? When you spot it and step in? Wow, this is interesting. It's really now asking me on things that I have experienced before. So I have seen people burn out, right? And burnout is very bad, whether it is working in a corporate environment, whether it is working on a startup, or even at events. Especially at events. Sorry, just just 1 second. 1 second. I need to quickly just deal with this. Just 1 second. Just all right. So I'm back. So I had a time when working on events that one of my teammates burned out. And guess what? After the burnout happened, they left. They left as in, actually, this didn't just happen once, it happened a few times. When you try to look for them, they disappear. They're not there. When we need answers from them, even if it's working on the filing, the paperwork for the company and so on, they are just not there. So burnout is bad, and I really want to try to prevent this. When people are feeling the pressure, we shouldn't just push it all on them. But when we do know that they can actually take the load, either you go and be with them, or if they really need time alone, just basically listen to them. What do they need to actually get the task done? Right? But to answer Grok's question, what's your go-to move when you see someone teetering on the burnout edge? For me, it's basically asking them how are they, or go out with them for a dinner or a coffee, just sit down, hear them out. They want to be heard. Okay, that's how I see it. They want to be heard and want to see how things, as a leader or as a manager, want to see how to move things. Just listen to them. It's really about them when they feel the stress, they just want to let things out. Okay, so let me just answer Grok on this. So for me, my go-to move is really asking them personal questions, asking them how are they feeling, is everything going okay? I know that you're going through a lot and there's a very tight deadline. Is there anything I can help? I will ask things like this to make sure they don't go on the burnout edge, because when they do burn out, they will disappear. They may, in a corporate environment, they may still be here, but they will not be with you. They might quickly go towards the quiet quitting sort of mode, and that will not be good as well. So I would tend to make sure that when I know something is not right, to ask personal questions. Wow, AI is getting very amazing. It's getting very amazing. So, okay, so what it says is that what Grok said, that's a solid move. Asking personal questions like, how are you feeling? Cut straight to the heart of it. It's simple but powerful, showing you care beyond the tasks. I bet that opens up some real conversations. Let's make this personal for you now. What's a leadership challenge that you're facing right now, or even just something on your mind when you could use the human centered lens? Toss me a scenario and I'll riff with you on how to tackle it. What's up? Wow. It's asking me. It's asking me. Um, so one of the things for sure, if you're leading an organization, sometimes you really don't want to be going out to ask people because you're already there, right? So that sometimes the ego comes in and takes over. But the key part is, that when something is wrong, go to your peers. Okay, have the mind to suddenly switch and say that I now need to solve this. How can I solve this? If you don't have the questions, you ask AI and you still don't have the questions, then you better go out and have a talk with your closest peers, bounce ideas, and see how to solve this. Right. So I actually find this question interesting. So let me see how I can answer this. So maybe I will give Grok the scenario where asked AI, I asked the AI, like ask Grok, and I still don't have my answers. I asked my peers, I still don't have the answers. What do I do? Okay, let me try. So sometimes as a leader, ego might take over and you don't want to ask questions, and that stress starts building. And maybe only when the stress starts building, then you realize you need to find answers from someone else. So I guess the scenario I want to ask you is, after I talk to AI, I talk to you, for example, I can't find my answers. I talk to my peers, I also can't find the answers. What do I do? Interesting. So at this point, when I talk to ChatGPT, um, I don't feel the humanness already. It's trying to agree with me on a lot of things, but Grok is actually tracking how things are like. I know I did say when doing the scripts, I wrote a post, do the scripts that it starts forgetting what it wrote before. But if it's a dialogue, it seems like it's getting a very strong hold of it. I really don't know how this I don't know how Grok works. It's very amazing. Okay, so what it says is, oh, I feel that when the ego kicks in, it's like you're stuck in this loop, thinking you've got it all figured out solo. Stress piles up, and only then do you realize you need to lean on others. That's a real moment for any leader. So let's unpack your scenario. You've talked to me. Hey, I'm flattered. You've hit up your peers and still no answers. Here's my take. First, flip the script and stop hunting for the answers and start asking better questions. This is very good, right? Sometimes it's really rethinking on how you can get better answers. Better questions, right? It's not really about keep drilling into that particular problem. Interesting. If your usual go-tos aren't cutting it, widen the net. Hit up someone outside your circle, like a mentor, a former colleague, or even someone in a total different field for a fresh perspective. Second, take a beat to zoom out. What's the core problem you're trying to solve? This is also very important. Sometimes when you're dwelling in on a particular problem, sometimes you are not going deep enough into what is the actual problem. You might be dwelling in on the very vague sort of thing, like, for example, why is this happening to me? Something like, why is this happening to me doesn't solve anything. So sometimes it's asking not just a better question, but deep diving more into what is the actual problem. You deep dive the question in more detail. Interesting. So when I stumped, so where was I? Second, take a beat and zoom out. What's the core problem you're trying to solve? Sometimes stress blinds us the real issue. This is very true, right? When I was stumped as a CEO, I'd forced myself to write it down in one sentence. Brutal clarity helped me see who else might weigh in. Yeah, write it out is also important. So sometimes writing a journal, not just typing it, can help. I think this was what my wife was telling me, that if I'm hitting a roadblock, I should write as well, rather than just typing things out. Because what my usual habit is, when I'm facing a roadblock, I would record my voice and have it recorded and sent to fireflies.com, and it comes out with a summary. But sometimes writing it out also helps. Interesting. So what do you think? Anyone you could tap who's not in your usual orbit? Maybe a way you've pulled yourself out of the stress spiral? Yeah, by talking like this definitely helps. I hope it will also help people out here. So, okay. So basically, I'll just end the session here because it was just for testing. Happy to have your comments on what you guys think. So I'll just end the session here. I'll just say your comments were very good. I think we can end the session here. Let's see what happens. So thanks for your response. It really helps clear for me how to ask better questions, how to deep dive into the actual problem than asking very vague questions such as, why is this happening to me? This definitely won't work. So I think we can end the session here. This was a great session. Thanks, Grok. I will see you next week. Whoops. I should call this. Oh my gosh. Luckily I did this first. This was a great session, and I think I can end it here. I will see you next week. Now remember to press the stop first. Interesting. Awesome. Glad it clicked for you. Before we wrap it up, here's your session. Leadership lessons of the week. Next time stress starts creeping in, pause and ask one person or anyone, what am I missing here? It's a tiny move that cracks open new angles and keeps the human connection alive. What a session. We dug into human-centered leadership and how it's about putting people first to unlock better results, staying empathetic under pressure, and asking questions to dodge burnout. My takeaway, you're already rocking this with your instinct to check in personally. I'll leave you with this. Over the next week, pick one teammate and ask them something real, like what's firing up lately, and see where it takes you. So I'll get some feedback because it's not just for me, it's for the whole audience. But overall, this is great. So if you guys have any feedback, let me know. I think I can already cut some of this into clips and share with the people that want to know more about leadership. All right, thanks a lot, guys.